What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Charles Enoch, and we are back with another Invest in Myself episode. Now, I know you guys are like, Charles, where the heck you been at? You was not here last Friday. And yeah, I can admit I dropped the ball last week. A brother had a lot of things going on. Now, out of a mistake that I made with my job, I ended up having to take a 5 a.m. class. It was from 5 to 1. And I'm not going to go through the details of how that happened, but it wore me out. I mean, changing the sleep cycle, everything. It was crazy. Now, the second issue I have, which we will be talking about today, is terminating my terrible property management that I had for my first rental property. So just a little background about me for any new viewers. I invest in the out-of-state rental properties. Since these rental properties are out of state, I usually have a property management taking over those properties so I don't have to worry about things. Now, this particular property management, they're managing one of my properties in the Kansas City, Missouri area. And they actually took over my first rental property purchase ever. And for those that know, it was a terrible experience, but hey, I got through it. And the experience keeps on being terrible with this property management. Now, I'm not going to go over the whole logistics of why this property management was terrible. I'm pretty much going to be going over for any new real estate investors that want to do rental properties, what questions you need to be asking the property management before you make a terrible decision and pretty much end up like me and having to terminate them. Now, one thing I will say, I put up with a lot of stuff with this property management, but when they start not dropping my checks on time, I had to terminate them quick and fast.
Don't mess with a brother's money.
And with all this being said, you know what my girl did? She literally just left and went on vacation. She was like, you know what? All this stuff, this is just way too stressful. I know that the money ain't dropping on time. You need to figure out what's going on. I'm flying to Kansas. I'm going down, see my family. Bye. Ain't that some messed up stuff? It's fine though, because a brother got through it. And I want to teach you guys some questions that you should be asking property managements before you take the dive and sign that contract and have them take over. But first, for anybody that's new, go ahead, please help a brother out and subscribe to the channel. We do drop content every Friday. And also do me one more favor, go ahead and hit that like button, make that thing turn blue. It really helps a brother out reach a higher audience base. Again, I really do appreciate it. So let's get to it. All right, so we're gonna split the questions into 3 different segments. The first segment, we'll talk about questions specifically about the property management that you wanna ask. Second, we'll talk about questions about how you screen your tenants that you would want to ask the property management. Third, we will ask questions about how you do repairs when maintenance issues come up. The first question you would ask a potential property management, how long have you been in business? So a property management that's been in business a long time can almost guarantee you that they're not going anywhere. Second, this will ensure you that they have experienced a lot of numerous problems, and obviously they had to have solved them to stay in business. So longevity in any type of field produces expertise. So with a property management that has a very longevity, they may have expertise in legal issues in that particular city or state, expertise in maintenance issues, expertise in emergency responses, and expertise in accounting as well. So second question you would want to ask is, how many properties do you guys manage? Now, there's no right or wrong answer, but there are some pros and cons to this. So let's talk about a smaller company that doesn't manage a lot of houses. Let's say they only manage about 50 properties. So a pro about a smaller property management, maybe they have awesome customer service because they don't have as many landlords that they have to attend to so they can make time for you. Now, a con with a small property management, maybe they're stretched a little too thin. They don't have a lot of associates attending to those 50 properties. Now, let's say that you're talking to a larger property management that manages thousands of properties. Now, a pro is they may have greater depth, can offer you more services as a larger company. And as you might have guessed, as a con, if they have thousands of landlords that they have to be talking to, maybe the response time isn't as immediate as a smaller property management. Now, I have property managements in 2 different states, one on the Kansas side and one in the Missouri side. The one on the Kansas side that have been awesome, they're a pretty large property management. I have had no issues. The one that I am switching out of, they're more of a smaller property management, and I'm going to be switching to a larger property management. So my preference will be a larger property management, but it is going to depend on the person. So another question that you would want to ask a property management, what are your fees? Are you charging a flat rate? Are you going to be charging a percentage of the rent? Now, typical property management, they're going to charge between 7 to 12% of the rent. Now, this can be negotiated. So if you have like a multiplex that has like 30 properties in it, they may cut it down. Now, one thing to realize, just because a property management has a lower percentage that they're going to take out of the rent, that may not be the best option. So for example, that property management that only charges 7% of the rent, they may not do as much as a property management that charges 10% of the rent. So if you want to be totally hands off like me, you want to make sure the services that they're providing will allow you to be hands off and make this as passive as possible. Second thing to note, some property managements will nickel and dime you. So the one that I was in, that's exactly what they did. They charged me $50 to go check out the property every 6 months. That's just one example, but there was a lot of nickel and dime fees that I caught myself paying that this new property management will pretty much just do for free. So this is pretty much leading to our next question. You would ask your property management, what services are included? Are you going to be doing marketing? Are you going to be doing preventative maintenance? Will you be collecting the funds? How will you be collecting those funds? Do you charge a late fee to the tenant? And if you collect that late fee, do I get a portion of that, or is that late fee just yours? Another way you can approach this too is if the property management gives you a quoted price, you can ask, hey, is this all inclusive? Am I going to have to pay extra for anything else like the preventative maintenance? So you're basically wanting to get an understanding of what all are you going to be paying for. You don't want anything to hit you by surprise. Finally, when they go over the services that they're providing, go ahead and try to get the information about the specific sources. So, hey, who's in charge of the legal department? Who's in charge of the financing department? So you start matching the names up and you know who to email and who to contact. Another question that you should ask a property management, hey, do you guys have an electronic system like a portal that I can get all this information from? So for example, if there's a maintenance call, can I go on the online portal and read about the maintenance and what the tenant's requesting? Is there monthly or even weekly reporting that I'm able to see what you guys are doing in an online system? So another question that asks the property management, how often do you check on the tenants in my property? Now, a good property manager is going to be checking in on the property. If they say that they don't do any annual walkthroughs, you need to walk out. So some property managements, you may see them through an annual walkthrough, or maybe every 6 months, some even maybe every 3 months. Now, this walkthrough is to protect you, because some tenants, they don't like reporting repairs, and then that small repair can turn into a major issue. So you definitely want to make sure that your property management is doing some type of annual walkthrough, maybe 6-month walkthrough. So another question that you want to ask, will I have easy access to the management team? What is the easiest way to get in contact with you guys? Now, my last property management, they were terrible. I couldn't get in contact with them via email. I couldn't get in contact with them via phone. They would always transfer me. The person was never in. And through their online web portal, I would type in there and they would get no response back. So knowing how to communicate with your property management is definitely going to be key. So one major thing to ask and understand, what are the terms of the contract that I will sign with you? So majority of contracts between you and the property management, it's going to be between 1 or 2 years, and you can do like a yearly renewal. Now between those 1 or 2 years, you cannot terminate the contract without a fee or some type of penalty most of the time. So pretty much if you're trying to get out of the contract early, they may assess a fee, let's say like a $500 fee to get out of that contract. And if that's true, you definitely want to know about this before you sign anything. So I was in a particular situation just like this. I literally had to wait till the end of the contract because I did not want to assess a $500 fee basically. So I was up here for several months just kind of putting up with a whole bunch of stuff and having my payments late just because of that fee. And that's something that I don't want you guys to have to experience. But all right, so we're going to move to the next section. Now this section, we're going to be asking questions about the tenants that they select. So the first question I would definitely ask, do you guys conduct criminal backgrounds or credit score checks when screening for a tenant? Now this is definitely non-negotiable. I mean, if they're not doing this, you need to run for the hills. So it's 2020 and every property management should be easily able to do a background check and a credit score check. So another really important question you want to ask the property management, what is your philosophy on tenant selection? And what I mean by that, do you try to get top dollar and are you raising rents aggressively? Or will you go down a little bit to get a more quality tenant or more pool of people? So for example, let's say in the neighborhood, the house is renting for $900. That's the average market price. Will your property management shoot for $950 and maybe get like 2 or 3 tenants? Or will they go just a little down to like $890 or $880 just so they can have more of a pool of tenants that are qualified and choose out of that? So this is something you definitely want to know. You want them to be kind of synchronized with your specific philosophy. Also, another question to ask, will you be advertising my property while a tenant's still in there that will eventually be moving out? Or will you wait until the tenant's out, get it rent ready, and then is that when you advertise? So if they're the type of property management that waits until the tenant is actually out and then they make it rent ready, you want to make note that, hey, this may be 1 or 2 months that I may be missing because this is what they particularly do. They wait until that person is out of the rental property. So a follow-up question from the previous question, you want to ask the property management, how long does it take you to turn around the property in between tenants? Now, if the property management practices what I just stated in regards to waiting for the tenant to officially move out, maybe that market, they are pretty sure that they can turn that thing around within 24 hours or 48 hours. They have no problem. And if that's the case, it can kind of relax your mind, but that's a question that you want to be asking. You need to make sure, how long should I be expecting from vacancies? Because ideally that's money out of your pocket. Another question to ask the property management, do you take photos before and after the property? This is a definite must. I mean, they should be doing this. If they don't, get out of there. They want to document the condition of the property before they move in and then after they move in. Because if we need to start taking their security deposit, that's what we need to do. So definitely make sure that they do that and that they are documenting that information. Another question to ask, do you offer a tenant placement guarantee? Now, what this means is if the tenant for some reason gets evicted and has to get out of the property, is the property management going to get a new tenant in there for free? Or are they going to charge you a fee? This will be maybe one of those hidden fees if you didn't discuss up front about it. So that is a good question to ask. Is that something that's going to have to come out of my pocket because the tenant got evicted before the year lease was up? Will you guys get a new person in? Or am I going to be on the hook of paying that along with the eviction and that whole process. All right, so we're going to move on to the last section. And these are going to be questions that you're going to specifically ask about maintenance and repairs to the property management. So the first question I would ask, how do you handle tenant calls for repairs? Do you try to troubleshoot and solve the problem over the phone or maybe even online on the portal? Or do you just automatically dispatch somebody out there? So if the property management's trying not to troubleshoot and they're just throwing any and everybody out there and just dispatching people, I'm pretty sure they're going to be charging you. And that's probably a property management that you don't want. You want them at least to try to resolve the problem and just troubleshoot it. A lot of these things and repairs are very easy that the tenant can just go behind somewhere, twist something, or get a screwdriver and, fix it basically themselves. So another question that you would be asking, is there a threshold amount that you would specifically call me for a repair? And if so, what is that amount? So a lot of property managements, if it's something under, let's say, $200, they won't even call you or notify you. They're just going to be sending people out there and they're just going to fix that. And some people may like that. And then you may get a property management where you can specifically put your own dollar amount threshold on there. So if it's anything above $100, they're going to be contacting you and letting you know what the issue is, and you would give your nod of approval. Now, for me, I like to be involved in regards to the maintenance. So my property managers, they know to contact me every time there's an issue. I just want to be notified. Most of the time, I just give the nod for approval. But me, I don't like just popping into my portal and seeing that there was a maintenance issue that I know nothing about. Another question to ask, who do you use for repairs? There are property managements that they have their own handyman or own handy team, and that can cause you to save a lot of money. Other property managements, they will outsource to a specific company. Let's say that the drain is clogged and they get Roto-Rooter to unclog the drain. Now, Roto-Rooter is probably going to be a lot higher than the personal handyman that they always have on call that works for the property management. So how they fix their repairs is definitely one thing that you want to know, and it will probably answer the question in regards to if they're just calling any and everybody out there or if they try to actually troubleshoot it over the phone or online. So last question I would ask about repairs and maintenance. So what is your philosophy on repairs and replacements? Now, you will get some property managements that they will do the least expensive way every time. So they're putting like a little Band-Aid on it and, going about business to try to save you money. Or you may get a property management that they prefer more of a long-term solution that may be expensive. Now, I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong, but you want to make sure that they match with your philosophy. For example, if there's a couple shingles missing off of the roof because of a windstorm, I'm not wanting my property management to go replace the whole roof. I'm just wanting them to put on the couple shingles that need to be put on. And just know this approach is going to be varied between whatever the repair is. And this is why I specifically like the property management to notify me of any repair, no matter what the cost is. Because I want to make that decision in regards to, hey, do I want a long-term fix right now? Do I have the ability to want to do that? Or do I want the short-term fix? Now, I know these are a lot of questions to ask the property management, but you definitely want to take your time because you don't want to end up in a situation like me. It is 30 times more frustrating when you have hidden fees, when things are just going bad. You want to make sure that you have a trusted property management. So I hope this information has been really helpful, especially for new time investors that are trying to dive in. Just know that property management is an important part, and it's a part that I did not realize how important it was. So I don't want you guys to make that first mistake that I did on my first rental property. And before we go, if you have listened to this whole video, go ahead and write a comment down below. If you're new, go ahead, just help a brother out, subscribe to the channel. We're dropping content every Friday. And if you want me to do a certain type of video, go ahead and put that in the comments as well too. I do read those. And again, smash that like button for me so we can get to a higher audience base. It really does help me out and I really do appreciate it. With that being said, you guys have a good weekend. Peace out.